Imagine you are scrolling through social media, skimming headlines and updates, when you spot a familiar claim. Taking vitamin C prevents colds. You've heard it before, maybe even read an article or two debunking it, yet something about the claim sticks in your mind. You start to wonder if, despite the evidence, there might just be some truth to it. This seemingly innocent lapse reflects a psychological bias called the Illusory Truth Effect, where repeated exposure to a false statement makes it feel more true, even when we should know better. It's unsettling to realize that, despite our knowledge or critical thinking skills, we can all fall victim to believing something merely because we've heard it repeatedly. This effect is pervasive in our lives, emerging when we're exposed to claims so often that they feel instinctively correct. It might begin innocuously enough, with small things like vitamin supplements or old wives' tales. But the more these statements filter into our subconscious through repetition, the more we instinctively trust them, even if reason and evidence point to the contrary. Social media, with its constant stream of information, amplifies this effect dramatically. A claim, even one we initially reject, can slowly start to feel credible if we encounter it often enough, making it easy for misinformation to spread. In fact, the speed and breadth of social media have given rise to a deluge of fake news, with consequences extending well beyond minor health misconceptions. Political misinformation, for instance, has gained traction on platforms that allow unverified claims to echo until they are ingrained in the public psyche. Studies show that falsehoods spread 6 times faster on social media than verified information, reaching thousands of people within minutes and affecting everything from opinions to actions. Advertisers have long harnessed the illusory truth effect to bolster brand loyalty and sway consumer perceptions. When a company repeatedly claims that a razor is the best a man can get, even skeptical buyers may start to feel it's true simply because they've heard it so many times. Our brains, designed to conserve energy, are inclined to take mental shortcuts, known as heuristics, to process information. One of these shortcuts, known as processing fluency, helps explain why repeated information feels more credible. When we encounter a familiar claim, our brains process it more smoothly, giving it a ring of truth. This fluency bias often overrides our rational judgments, nudging us to accept a statement based on how easily we can process it, rather than on its factual validity. Our minds operate through 2 distinct systems, dubbed System 1 and System 2. System 1 works quickly and automatically, making decisions based on instincts and past experiences, while System 2 is slower and more analytical, reserved for critical thinking and problem-solving. The catch is that System 2 requires significantly more mental energy, so whenever possible, we rely on the quicker System 1. When a claim is familiar and easy to process, System 1 latches onto it without question, even when a thorough review would reveal flaws. This is why repeated exposure can foster belief in a falsehood, regardless of whether we know the truth. Historically, this knowledge has been exploited by those seeking to manipulate public opinion. Repetition's influence on belief formation isn't a new revelation. Propagandists have understood its power for generations. Adolf Hitler noted that a slogan, repeated persistently, can eventually convince even the most resistant audiences. Repetition embeds a lie so deeply that people forget its origins or initial implausibility. Today, political and social actors rely on this strategy in ways that profoundly shape opinions and actions, reinforcing the importance of vigilance. Misinformation's reach and impact are staggering. Not only does it sow confusion and doubt, but it can also incite violence and even destabilize democratic processes. Misinformation campaigns, often disguised as ordinary news, have been linked to election interference, acts of violence, and widespread mistrust in institutions. In the face of this, many people express concerns about the influence of fake news, but paradoxically, they tend to believe they are personally immune to it. However, the illusory truth effect underscores that no one is completely impervious to the sway of repeated claims. One particularly insidious element of this effect is what psychologists term knowledge neglect. Even when people possess the correct information, they can still fall prey to believing a repeated falsehood if it's presented often enough. This susceptibility is not a matter of intelligence or education. Rather, it is a quirk of human cognition that affects us all. Exposure to familiar claims, no matter how irrational, makes them seem more plausible simply because they're easier to process. Breaking free from the illusory truth effect requires a conscious commitment to critical thinking. It's easier said than done, of course. We encounter countless claims each day, many of which pass through our minds without scrutiny. Fact-checking upon first encounter helps inoculate the mind against the illusory truth effect, creating a mental record that serves as a reference when encountering the same information again. Yet critical thinking isn't just about verifying facts. It also requires cultivating an awareness of the telltale signs of unreliable information, ambiguous sources, poor writing, or grand claims unreported by credible outlets. Ultimately, the illusory truth effect underscores a broader, unsettling truth about human cognition. We are wired to favor the familiar over the accurate. Repetition is a double-edged sword. It can help us learn and remember, but it can also lead us to accept inaccuracies, shaping our beliefs and behaviors in the process. Awareness of this effect, along with a conscious commitment to fact-checking and critical evaluation, provides some defense. But in a world overflowing with information, it's an ongoing challenge to remain vigilant, reminding us that truth is not always what feels right, but what stands up to scrutiny. But stand up now and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.